Chapter 3: Human Reproduction. Are you aware humans are sexually reproducing and viviparous? The reproductive event in human includes formation of gamete, which is also known as gametogenesis, that is formation of sperm in male and female ovum. Transfer of sperm into female genital tract is known as insemination, and fusion of male and female gamete, which is known as fertilization, leading to the formation of zygote. This is followed by formation and development of blastocyst and its attachment to the uterine wall, which is known as plantation. Embryonic development, gestation, and delivery of the baby, pasteurization. You have learned that these reproductive events occurs after puberty. There are remarkable differences between the reproductive events in the male and the female. For example, sperm formation continues even in an old man, but the formation of ovum ceases in women around the age of 50 years. The male reproductive system. The male reproductive system is located in the pelvis region. It includes a pair of testes along with accessory ducts, glands, and external genitalia. The testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity with a pouch called scrotum. The scrotum helps in maintaining the low temperature of testes, 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than the normal body temperature, necessary for spermatogenesis. In adults, each testis is oval in shape, with a length of about 4 to 5 centimeter and a width of 2 to 3 centimeter. The testis is covered by a dense covering. Each testis has about 250 compartments, known as testicular locules. Each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules, in which sperms are produced. Each seminiferous tubule is lined on its inside by two type cells: the male germ cells, which is known as spermatogonia, and the Sertoli cell. The male germ cells undergo meiotic division, finally leading to formation of sperm, while Sertoli cell provide nutrition to the germ cell. The region outside the seminiferous tubule is known as interstitial cell. The interstitial cell contains blood vessel and interstitial cells, which is known as Leydig cell. Leydig cells synthesize and secrete testicular hormones, which is known as androgens. Other other immunological component cells are also present. The male's accessory ducts includes rete testis, vas efferentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. The seminiferal tubules of the testis. The seminiferal tubules, which opens into vas efferentia through rete testis. The vasa efferentia leaves the testis and open into epididymis. It located along the posterior sides of each testis. The epididymis leads to vas efferentia that extends to the abdomen and loop over the urinary bloods. It receives the blood from the seminal vesicles and open into urethra as a ejaculatory duct. These ducts stores and transport the sperm from the testis to the outside through the urethra. The urethra originates from the urinary bladder and extends through a penis to its external opening called urethral meatus. The penis is a male genitalia. It is made up of a special tissues which help in erection to facilitate insemination. The enlarged end of penis is known as glans penis, is covered with a loose fold of a skin known as foreskin. The male accessory glands includes paired seminal vesicles, a prostate, and a pair of bulbourethral glands. Secretion of these glands constitute the seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. The secretion of bulbourethral glands helps also in lubrication of the penis. The female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries along with oviduct, uterus, cervix, vagina, and the external genitalia, located in the pelvic region. These structures of the system, along with the pair of mammary glands, integrate structurally and functionally to support the process of ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, birth, and child care. Ovaries are the primary female sex organ that produces the female gamete, ovum, and several steroid hormones. The ovaries are located on one each side of the lower abdomen. Each ovary is about 2 to 4 centimeters in length and is connected to the pelvic wall and the uterus by ligament. Each ovary is covered by a thin epithelium which encloses the ovarian stroma. The stroma is divided into two zones, a peripheral cortex and inner medulla. The oviduct is also known as fallopian tube, uterus, and the vagina constitute the female aqueduct. Each fallopian tube is about 10 to 12 centimeters long and extends from the periphery of each ovary to the uterus. The part closer to the ovary is known as infundibulum. Infundibulum possesses finger-like projection known as fimbriae, which helps in collection of ova after ovulation. The infundibulum leads to a wider part of oviduct known as ampulla. The last part of the oviduct is isthmus, has to be narrow and which joins the uterus. The uterus is single and it is known as boom. The structure and the shape of the uterus is inverted pear. Shape of the uterus is inverted pear. It is supported by ligament attached to the pelvic bone. The uterus opens into vagina through a narrow cervix. The cavity of the cervix is known as cervical canal. Along with the vagina, along with vagina, uh, cer- along with vagina, cervix forms the birth canal. The wall of the uterus has three layers. The the external layer is known as the external layer is known as perimetrium. The middle thick layer of a smooth muscle is known as myometrium, and the inner granular layer is known as endometrium that lines the uterine cavity. The endometrium undergoes cyclic changes during the menstrual cycle, while the myometrium exhibits a strong contraction during delivery of baby. The female external genitalia includes mons pubis, labia majora and labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. Mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair. Labia majora are the fleshy folds of tissue which extend down from the mons pubis and surround the vaginal opening. Labia minora are the paired folds of tissue under the labia majora. The opening of the vagina is often covered partially by a membrane called hymen. The clitoris is a teeny finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of the two labia majora above the urethral opening. The hymen is the hymen is often torn during the first coitus or intercourse. However, it can be broken by a sudden fall or jolt, insertion of a vaginal tampon, active participation in some sports like horse riding, cycling, etc. In some women, hymen persists even after coitus. In fact, the presence or the absence of hymen is not the reliable indicator of virginity or sexual experience. A functional mammary gland is characterized a characteristic of all females. The mammary glands are paired structures, which is also known as breast, that contains glandular tissues and variable amount of fat. The glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes, contains a cluster of cells called alveoli. The cells of alveoli secretes milk, which is stored in a cavity known as lumen of alveoli. Alveoli opens into mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe joins to form mammary duct. Several mammary ducts joins to form a wider mammary ampulla, which is connected to lactiferous ducts, through which milk is sucked out. Gametogenesis. The primary sex organ, the testis in the male and the ovary in the female, produce gamete, that means the sperm and the ovum. respectively, by the process of gametogenesis. In testes, the immature male germ cells (spermatogonia) produce a sperm by spermatogenesis that begins at the age of puberty. The spermatogonia, single spermatogonium, present on the inside wall of seminiferous tubules, multiply by mitotic division and increase in number. Each spermatogonium is haploid and contains 46 chromosomes. Some of the spermatogonia, called the primary spermatocytes, periodically undergo meiosis. A primary spermatocyte completes the first meiotic division, which is also known as reduction division, leading to the formation of two equal haploid cells called as secondary spermatocytes, which have only 23 pairs of chromosomes. The secondary spermatocytes undergo the second meiotic division to produce O-haploid, which is known as spermatids. What would be the number of chromosomes in the spermatids? There would be 23 number. The spermatids are transformed into spermatozoa, which is also known as sperms, by the process of spermiogenesis. After spermiogenesis, sperm heads become embedded into the Sertoli cells and finally released from the seminiferous tubules by the process of spermiation. These are spermatogonium, and these are Sertoli, primary spermatogonia, and these middle is primary spermatocytes. Sertoli cells. Sorry. Spermatogenesis starts at the age of puberty due to significant increase in the secretion of gonadotropin-releasing hormone (GnRH). This, if you recall, is a hypothalamic hormone. The increased level of GnRH then acts at the anterior pituitary gland and stimulates the secretion of two gonadotropin, luteinizing hormone (LH) and the follicle stimulating hormone (FSH). LH acts at the leading cell and stimulates the formation and synthesis of androgens. Androgens in turn stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. FSH acts on the Sertoli cells and stimulates the secretion of some factor which helps in the process of meiosis. Let us examine the structure of a sperm. This spool is known as head. Um, this spool is known as head. This small part is known as neck, and this part is known as middle piece, and this whole part is known as tail. Let us examine the structure of a sperm. It is a macroscopic structure composed of head, neck, middle piece, and the tail. A plasma membrane envelops the whole body of the sperm. The sperm head contains an elongated haploid nucleus, the anterior portion of which is covered by a cap-like structure known as acrosome. The acrosome is filled with enzyme that helps in the fertilization of ovum. The middle piece possesses numerous mitochondria, which produce energy for the movement of tail that facilitates sperm motility essential for fertilization. The human male ejaculates about 200 to 300 million sperms during a coitus, of these for normal fertility. At least 60% of sperms must have normal shape and size, and at least 40% of them show vigorous motility. Sperms are released from the seminiferous ducts. Tubules are transported by the accessory ducts. Secretion of epididymis, what defines seminal vesicles, and the prostate are essential for the maturation modality of sperm. The seminal plasma along with the sperm constitute the semen. The function of the male's six accessory ducts and glands are maintained by the testicular hormones. The process of formation of a mature female gamete is known as oovuation. Genesis, oogenesis, which is marked different from spermatogenesis. Oogenesis is initiated during embryonic development stage when a couple of million gametes, mother cell oogonia, are formed within each fetal ovary. No more oogonia formed after or added after birth. This is an important line. These cells start division and enter into a prophase one of the meiotic division and get temporarily arrested at this site and is known as the primary oocyte. Each primary oocyte then gets surrounded by a granulosa cells, which is then it is known as primary follicles. A large number of these follicles degenerate during the phase from the birth to the puberty. Therefore, at puberty, only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. The primary follicles get surrounded by more layers of granulosa cells, and a new theca are called secondary follicles. The secondary follicles soon transform into tertiary follicles, by which it is characterized by acute filled cavity known as antrum. The theca layer is organized in an inner theca interna and an outer theca externa. It is important to draw your attention that it is at this side the primary oocyte the primary oocyte within the tertiary follicles grow inside and completes its first meiotic division. It is an unequal division resulting in the formation of a haploid secondary oocyte and a thinner polar body. The secondary oocyte retain bulk of the nutrient-rich cytoplasm of the primary oocyte. Can you think any advantage of this? Does the first polar body bond out of the first nucleotide further or degenerate? The the polar body degenerates. At present, we are not very certain about this. The tertiary follicles further changes into mature follicles or Graafian follicles. The secondary oocytes forms a new membrane known as zona pellucida surrounding it. The Graafian follicles now ruptures to release the secondary oocytes ovum from the ovary by the process of ovulation. A diagrammatic representation of a spermatogenesis and oogenesis is given below. At puberty, one divides into two, and after mitotically divided into two, and is mitotically divided into two, where now first mitotic division takes place, and here the second mitotic division takes place. The same in there, this mitosis, the first meiosis, and after that the second meiosis. Menstrual cycle. The the reproductive cycle in the female primates is known as menstrual cycle. The first menstrual cycle begins at puberty is known as menarche. In human females, the menstrual is repeated at an average intervals of about 28 to 29 days. The cycle of the event starting from one menstruation till the next one is known as menstrual cycle. One ovum is released during the middle during the middle of each menstrual cycle. The major events of the menstrual cycle are shown in figure 3.9. It is the first day of menstruation, which lasts for 3 to 4 days, where menses occurs, and after that day, the uterus starts to regenerate, and after at the time of 29th, again it starts to rupture in case of not pregnancy, and it and if if it is the case of pregnancy, this will continue. The major event of the menstrual cycles are shown in figure 3.9. The cycle starts with the menstrual phase. The cycle starts with menstrual phase, when menstrual flow occurs and lasts for 3 to 5 days. The menstrual phase results due to breakdown of endometrial lining of the uterus and its blood vessel, which forms a liquid and come out through vagina. Menstrual only occurs if the released ovum is not fertilized. Lack of the menstrual may the inactive of pregnancy. However, it may also be the cause due to some underlying causes like stress, poor health, etc. The menstrual phase is followed by the follicular phase. The menstrual phase is followed by the follicular phase. During this phase, the primary follicle in the ovary grows. During this phase, primary follicle in the ovary grows to become a fully mature Graafian follicle, and simultaneously the endometrium of the uterus regenerates through proliferation. These changes in the ovary and the uterus are induced by the changes in the levels of pituitary and ovarian hormone. The secretion of gonadotropins. LH gonadotropins are LH and FSH increase gradually during the follicular phase and stimulates follicular development as well as secretion of estrogen by the growing follicles. Estrogens are secreted by the growing follicles. Both LH and FSH attains a peak level on the middle of the menstrual cycle, about 14th day. Rapid secretion of LH readings to maximum level during the mid-cycle, which is also known as LH surge, induces the rupture of Graafian follicles and thereby the release of ovum. The ovulation, the ovulatory phase, is followed by the luteal phase, during which the remaining part of Graafian follicles transfer in as the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum secretes a large amount of progesterone, which is essential for maintenance of the endometrium. Such an endometrium is necessary for implantation of the fertilized ovum and other events of pregnancy. During pregnancy, all events of the menstrual cycle stop and there is no menstruation. In the absence of fertilization, the corpus luteum degenerates. This causes disintegration of endometrium leading to the menstruation, marking a new cycle. In human beings, menstrual cycle ceases at around 15 years of age. That is termed as menopause. Cycling menstruation is the indicator of normal reproductive phase and extends between the menarche and menopause. Fertilization and implantation. During copulation, a coitus semen is released by the penis into the vagina, which is known as insemination. The motile sperm stream rapidly pass through the cervix and enter into the uterus, and finally reach the ampullary regions of the fallopian tube. The ovum released by the ovary is also transported to the ampullary region, where fertilization takes place. Fertilization can only occur if the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to the ampullary region. This is the reason why not all the copulation leads to fertilization and pregnancy. The process of fusion of a sperm with an ovum is known as fertilization. During fertilization, a sperm comes in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ovum and induces a change in the membrane and blocks the entry of additional sperm. Thus, it ensures that only one sperm can fertilize an ovum. The secretion of the acrosome helps the sperms enter into the cytoplasm of the ovum through the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane.